Illuminati philosopher, and these are my thoughts. Martin Luther King was definitely more popular than Jesus Christ. The reason why I say that is because he was assassinated. They couldn't get anything concrete on him, and he was gaining more popularity by the minute with black people and some white people, I would say, as well. And they couldn't get anything on him, so they had to assassinate him. He was gaining too much popularity. Now, Jesus Christ, they didn't assassinate him because he was causing so much problems. If he was doing all these miracles, if he was the Son of God and he was doing these miracles and stuff like that, the people would protect him. He would be doing right by the people, and the people would have no problems with him. But obviously the people had problems with him because they didn't try to rescue him at all. They allowed him to be murdered or to be executed. Right? So they had stuff on him. They got someone to find him, and they arrested him in front of his people. They brought him to the town square, and they asked the people, hey, Barabbas, this murderer, or Jesus Christ? Who did they pick? They picked the murderer. Because this Jesus Christ character was a huge fraud to the people. It cannot be denied. You and I, we've watched the movies. There's a reason why they got rid of him. He was causing so much problems. Then they torture him, put him on trial, and then pretty much drag him out to his execution, and then the people watch him die for hours. Now, they had enough time, if he was so popular, they had enough time to gather a resistance force to do something. But, as I said, the people were against him for the most part, so no, there's no resistance. There's going to be no resistance. They literally watched the guy die for hours. For hours. And if you think about it, 90% of his life, nobody knows who this guy is. Nobody knows who his mother is. What was his mother about? Nobody knew who his mother was. When he grew up, he was a child, he went to the temple. They didn't even know who he was. The priests or the teachers, they didn't even know who he was. Then he disappears for 18 years. Where did he go? But he disappears. All of a sudden he comes back. Nobody knows who he is. He tries to talk to his people and they want to throw him off a cliff. Then all of a sudden he does these miracles, and then people start listening to him and paying attention to him. Like these so-called miracles. It's like, oh my God, he's the Son of God, and he's like things that we cannot verify at all. Things that are nonsensical. If it was anybody else, we would say that that's absolute nonsense. But supposedly there's this cult following of Jesus that it's just mind-numbing, and it doesn't make any sense. 90% of his life, nobody knew who this guy was. Make that make sense. So 3 years, he becomes legend. But in the small percentage of those 3 years, he got screwed over big time. The people went against him. So how could you make that popular around the world? That's what you have to ask yourself. If anybody hears that story, so for 3 years, let's say 2 3/4 years, he's popular. Then all of a sudden he's not. Someone hears that story and it's like, well, they found out he was a charlatan. That's why the people got rid of him. Was there any resistance? No, there wasn't no resistance. There was nobody, they arrested him in front of his people. They had enough time to mount a resistance in order to get him out and save him. But no. They watched him die for hours and did nothing. You understand? And even before that, they were torturing him. They had him on trial. And during that time, they made no effort to make a resistance to free him. None whatsoever, because the people primarily agreed with getting rid of him. That's undisputed. We watch the movie all the time. We see the movies all the time. He was a nuisance. And then somehow, only a select few of people see him rise from the dead. And we're supposed to believe this. We're supposed to believe this. This is ridiculous. Martin Luther King, they had to assassinate him because he was too popular. This guy, they could openly kill this guy and nobody gives two shits.